Alright, so you guys just finished your memo. This is a quick webcast just to kind of explain what's going on next. Now I told you yesterday, I kind of spoke briefly about it last week, but we're going to get started on mail merges. Okay, so I'm on Schoology, and right now I'm going to scroll on down to the word processing folder. Open that up, and inside the word processing folder you will see a mail merge folder. Now in here there's a ton of stuff, a bunch of PDFs. You'll see a couple different documents, a folder. I'm just going to slowly start to work my way through, and I'll explain what you're going to do with some of the materials within this folder. Now first thing I'm going to open up is the mail merge graphic, and this one's pretty nice because it actually explains exactly what a mail merge does. Okay, so your main document over here in the green is a letter, an envelope, or labels. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys have ever had to, but I know with Christmas coming up, I'm going to have to send out a ton of thank you notes. Send out thank you notes to those people who get me gifts, or thank you notes to those people who send me holiday cards or invites or gift cards or whatever it may be. And so I know the worst part for me is always sending out those thank you notes, even though I know I need to do it. Addressing the envelopes or addressing the letter or making the labels. That's like the worst part for me. So this is what we start with: a letter, an envelope, or a label. Then we add in our data source, and this could be a table in Microsoft Word, it could be an Excel spreadsheet, or it could be an Access database. And we haven't talked much about Access whatsoever, but second semester we'll figure out a little bit more about Access. So you have this data source, and this is more or less people's name, address, state, zip, and I'll kind of show you that in a little bit. Okay, so you have your main document plus your source document, and when those two are combined, it makes a merged document. So that's like a custom envelope or custom label or custom letter. Okay, so when you take the main document and add your data source in, you get a merged document. Now today, we're going to work on our data source. So we're actually going to be using an Excel spreadsheet to make our data records or our data sources. Okay, so I wanted to go through that real quick before we moved any further. Back to our mail merge folder. Okay, mail merge in Word 2010. I just wanted to open this up to show you guys this is the lengthy process that we'll be kind of taking on for the next week. Okay, now if you scroll through it, you'll see that there's like quite a few steps. It's definitely kind of intense. Like I told you guys earlier, that's why we saved it till the end, because we wanted it to be fresh in your mind for finals. Okay, so it is a pretty intense process, so make sure you're following this video pretty closely so you don't fall behind. Okay, back to our mail merge folder. This is the important one, the anatomy of an address. Okay, so many of you probably have never even thought about an address. Like what goes into it. You always memorize your address. I remember when I was a kid memorizing an address, my mom made me do it in case I ever got lost or something. But we never really break down an address to learn a little bit more about it. Okay, now Mrs. Ertl did an awesome job. Here's her address. She doesn't live at Conant High School, but she might as well. She's always here. Okay, so here's her address. Mrs. Patricia Ertl, she's the department chair of the Business Ed Department. James B. Conant High School, 700 East Cougar Trail, Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Okay, an address. Doesn't look too crazy. We've seen a ton of them, but we're actually going to break that down today. Okay, and this is on Schoology. My suggestion to you would be to fill this out on your iPad as you're watching this video. So now would be a great time to pause it, get your iPad out, open this up, the anatomy of an address, and fill this out. Remember, you will be able to use some notes, and so it might be beneficial to have this. Okay, so pause if you need to. Alright, moving on. So, right here we have a couple questions. Okay, the first question, each address or person is considered a blank. Well, if I were there, I'd ask you guys to raise your hand and take a guess, but since it's a video, I'll just give you guys the answer. Each address or person is considered a record. Not like a record you put on a record player, but just a record in a spreadsheet or a record in a database. Okay, so think about the school has all of your records on file. That means your name, address, what classes you've taken. So each address or person is considered a record. A record is made up of fields. There are different fields from this address. Okay, how many fields are listed in this example? Once again, I'd ask you guys, I'd have you raise your hand and guess, but I'm not there, so please don't raise your hand, because you might just look strange. But there are a bunch of different fields. The first field is Mrs. Okay? And this is kind of like their, how you address a person. So right here, Mrs. is the first part. It could be Mr., Miss, Mrs., right there. Kind of like their introduction. Then you have her first name. That's another field. Her last name is another field. Department chair is her job title. That's another field. The high school, that's another field. 700 East Cougar Trail is another separate field. Hoffman Estates, the city or the town, is another separate field. Illinois is the state. And the zip code right here is its own field. So if we count that up, we have one field right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So in one address there are 9 fields. Now this might make a little bit more sense when we jump into Excel, but right here you need to know that how you address a person, their first name, last name, job, school, or their business, company name, their address, city, state, and zip, those are all separate fields. So right now there are 9 fields listed in this one example. Now how many records are there in this class today? If everyone's there, which hopefully everyone is, there should be 31 records in this class. Okay, and this, like I said, will make a little bit more sense as we kind of move along here. Okay, back into our mail merge folder. I want to skip links to forms, and I want you to look at this data source 1 and 2. Okay, so right here it's a PDF. It'd be smart to open it on your iPad. So it says, let's create the data for our next mail merge. Now since I'm not here today, I figured it'd be best just to kind of get some of the data out of the way. So right here I have 3 addresses, 3 of my friends, Mr. Harold Dominicus, Mrs. Noreen Mueller, Miss Elizabeth Theolet, and those are my 3 friends, best friends. How many records are listed below? Okay, so we need to figure this out. Records, we have 1, 2, 3. Remember, each person and their address is a record. And this means that in Excel there will be 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay, so each record is its own row. Okay, now how many fields are in each record? We have how you address a person, Mr., Mrs., Miss. So that's 1 record. 2 would be their first name. 3 is their last name. 4 is their address. 5 is their city. 6 is the state, and 7 is their zip code. Okay, and this is just one long zip code. Alright, so we have 7 fields in one record. Now fields and records are something that we're going to be practicing for quite a bit, but today is the first day you guys are kind of getting to know fields and records. Alright, so it says right here our next step is in Excel to create a spreadsheet of the information above, so it could be used as data source in a mail merge. Alright, so right here, remember we're going to have 1 record, 2, 3. Okay, now in order to kind of keep my keep everything nice and organized, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put how you address someone, their first name, whoop, made a mistake, first name, whoop, last name, and then we had their, I gotta go back, their address, their city, state, and zip. So back to Excel, I have their address, city, state, and zip. Okay, and this is their, I guess, how you address someone. It's probably a better term for that. Okay, so Yeah, especially since I have address. This is just their introduction, I guess. I'm making mistakes all over the place. Alright. This would be intro. Okay, so first one was Mr. Next one was Mrs. And last one was Miss. I just remember that, so I'm going to write that down. Now I need to start filling in these records. So it was Mr. Harold Dominicus. There we go. So I'm going to go back. Harold Dominicus. And his address is 14820 Conway Road. 14820 Conway Road. Okay, now quick review in Excel. You probably are going to need to stretch out some of these columns or fields, and remember you could either click in between the letters or you could just double click to stretch those out. The city, does anyone remember the city? Chesterfield. So right over here I'm going to put Chesterfield. The state, I believe that was the state, Missouri. And 63025, 63025, 1003. How good is my memory? Boom, pretty good. Okay, so I put in that first record. Okay, now since I don't want you guys watching this video for the rest of the period, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. Alright, now that's the first record. Remember, we said we had 7 fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields. We're going to have 1, 2, 3 records. Okay, these are your important records to have. Okay, now I want you to follow this for the first one, and instead of saving it as book 1, you want to save it as data source 1 when you're finished with these 3 records. Now, something so important. Okay, every now and then I'm going to say GIGO. And that stands for garbage in equals garbage out. You need to proofread. Okay, no, in high school it's something, for some reason you guys don't think it's cool to proofread, but it will save you a ton of points, it will save you time, it will save you frustrations. Okay, if you type garbage in, you better expect to get garbage out. So that means capitalizations. Capital H for Harold, capital D for Dominicus. Mr. has a period afterwards. The address is typed properly. Okay? Chesterfield is typed properly. Alright? All of those things. Remember, garbage in equals garbage out. GIGO. Okay? Save this as data source 1 and then close the document in Excel. This is your first priority. After doing those 3 records, okay, there you go. Garbage in equals garbage out. Words to live by. After doing that first one, create a new document in Excel. A little shortcut is Control-N. And this is the one, I wish I were there to hear the groans. But right here, we have a bunch of addresses to type in. Okay, now remember, we're going to do it just like we did here on this Excel spreadsheet. Okay, once you get that second one done, I'm sure it will take you a little while. Save it as data source 2. But before you save it, GIGO. Alright, hopefully you guys are being awesome for the sub. Have a great Tuesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck.